right, we're back. And as of this recording, Thanksgiving is coming up tomorrow. I'm curious what you guys got going on or what's been going on in your life recently.
Yeah, so last weekend we my girls had another dance competition in out of state, so that was kind of fun. They did extremely well. Both teams did really well, so it's always fun watching their hard work pay off. And then, of course, we have Thanksgiving this week, just a couple days of school, and I was thinking it's a little chaotic. It's kind of like with anything when there's no structure. The kids are a little sillier, a little crazier. It's a little harder to get them under control. But I was kind of thinking there's also a lot of funny things that come out of that, and the kids always say the funniest things. And it just kind of this is just something kind of just popped in my head. Funny story that I wanted to share because I think kids are awesome, and they're saying so many things that I really need to write a book. I mean, there's some of the things they've told me, and some of the stories I have are just memories I'll have forever. But I remember, so and I don't even know why this popped in my head today, but I was thinking about I had a buffalo wing story, and so it was third or fourth grade, so they're 9, 10 year olds. You kind of think about that, and we were talking about buffaloes, and a kid in the back was like, I love buffalo wings. And sometimes I let those comments just go, and I looked at them, and I was like, I think I need to dive into this a little deeper. So I was like, hey dude, what you love buffalo wings? I was like, what are buffalo wings? And he was like, dude, like wings from a buffalo, and they're delicious. And so naturally, you get a little some laughs in the class, and a couple of kids was like, it is not wings from a buffalo. And then someone was like, it's pig. And I was like, oh wow, okay, let's just stop teaching whatever I'm teaching, and let's just get into this. And so what do you guys think? I was, what do you guys think? And they're raising their hands, and we're getting everything from pig to cow to all kinds of things. And I'm just laughing. I'm letting them kind of take over the class. They're arguing over what animal this, what a buffalo wing is. And I look back, and there's this one kid, and he's a really sharp kid. He's always on top of everything. And he's just kind of like, you could tell he's like fuming. And he's like grabbing his kind of head almost. And he finally stops. He's like, it's chicken, people. Buffalo wings is chicken. It's chicken wings. And, and everyone's laughing. And it's just a really funny situation. And then I look back, and it's kind of died down. And that same kid that started off, he goes, oh, but yeah, those buffalo wings they're good. They're good. Yeah. It's like, I don't think he got it at all, but it was a good story. So, and I don't know why it popped in my head, but I have a lot of good stories about my kids. So it was just funny. I
Yeah.
thought I'd share.
I feel like we're gonna definitely need more of those. Kids have no filter, and I love that you just went down that whole rabbit hole and just let it be a whole discussion. I think that's
They
hilarious.
don't. Sometimes you just gotta let them be kids, and it's interesting to hear their creative conversations, and the things that they do know and they don't know, and sometimes they really surprise me at the level that they do understand things, and then sometimes we just have things like this, and so anytime I eat chicken wings or buffalo wings or anything like that, I automatically think about that story. So that'll probably stay with me forever.
Right. I think it's funny to see their train of thought and just like how their brains work, like what directions they take. Because I feel like as we grow up, I don't know, lose some of that curiosity. Even it's funny to see. I actually used to work with kids too. That was my first job ever. Was at a after school kids program, and so there was just like hundreds of them running around. It was chaos as well, but it was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what it is just I think as adults we still have curiosity. It's just we have that filter. We're like we don't want to be embarrassed, or
Mm,
we don't want people to think that we don't understand things. At least that's my viewpoint of the way I look at some things. Where I don't ask questions like I probably should know this. I don't want to be embarrassed by ask, but
mm.
kids are just like I don't care. Just tell me about it. I need to know more about this. So
That's so true. Actually, I didn't think about that. Yeah, it is for sure. Like some of our negative thoughts are just wiring. Like as we get older, like we just like build these beliefs and just the way that we operate to kind of protect ourselves and protect our egos too. And so yeah, kids just they don't have it. It doesn't exist, and I love it.
yeah, it's very cool. So what about yourself? What's going on with you?
um, just doing a lot of scholarship this week, which is great. I've been trying to prioritize myself as much as possible through all the calls and everything. So I've been getting out and getting some sun. And then last weekend, I actually went to a couple events working on getting out of my comfort zone. I talked a few weeks back about one of my biggest goals is relationships and more experiences, and also continuing to get settled in Florida. So part of that is putting myself out there, even though it's very uncomfortable and very challenging. So I went to, actually this cool walking group in Tampa. It's just like a bunch of girls that just go and walk. So I was like, all right, I'll go
Oh,
check that out. And I actually met like such an amazing girl who like just very similar background and how she grew up and just challenges she went through, and she's in a very similar place with building her brand and kind of in the wellness space. It's a little bit different, but just very similar backgrounds. And like I've never connected with someone like on that deep of a level so quick. So that was really cool and really promising, and like putting myself out there and like kind of getting almost that like that instant reward and like seeing that it can work.
yeah, and I've heard actually quite a few people talk about walking groups. Like, I guess that's kind of a newer thing, which is I think is great. We're going to talk about this later, but walking is fantastic, and then it's a great opportunity to meet other people while you're doing that. As opposed to like sitting at a coffee place or somewhere that might be loud or harder to get to know people. I think that's a great activity.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. Even just when I'm hanging out with friends, I'm like, let's just go on a walk, like go walk by the water or something. It's the best. And I feel like it allows you to like think more clear too and like have better conversations. It's definitely a good one. And I think it's funny because that went really well. And then kind of going along with what you said about it's much different than like getting drinks or just like hanging out in the group setting like that. I did also go to a Friendsgiving, and that was kind of the opposite experience. It's definitely not my type of crowd and just not type of my, like I would much rather be out walking or just like more one-on-one. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I went. It was definitely out of my comfort zone. I showed up. I didn't really know anyone there. I was like, all right, we're gonna make the most of it and give it a shot. But yeah, it was not my scene. And so I ended up leaving like probably like 10 minutes in. um,
Hey, but you went, right? That was
exactly. Yeah, I went. I won't wonder what if. I'm glad I did go and just give it a shot. And this is one of the things where I'm just very aware of my energy when I'm hanging out with people. Is my cup getting filled, and are they like filling me up and providing me more energy, and am I leaving in a better position than when I got there, or am I just like feeling drained and defeated and want to leave? So in that moment I was just like, I just don't feel great, like I just feeling like my energy is drained and I'm gonna remove myself. There, like nothing against them, nothing against, like I'm glad I went. It's just protecting my peace, protecting my energy, and being aware of those things and like what people fill you up and what people drain you. I think that's important to be able to identify, to continue to put yourself in situations where people are lifting you up as opposed to bringing you down.
Yeah, and I think we need to be we need to be more aware and understanding of people's personalities and how they work in those situations. I heard something, I don't know where I heard this from, but I thought it was really good. It was kind of like a battery analogy,
Mm.
and it was describing like people who are more extroverted. It's kind of like they wake up with a battery that's been drained, right?
Mm.
And they need that social contact, that social interaction to charge their battery, right? And then on the opposite side, someone that's more introverted kind of wakes up and their battery's already charged, and the more and more interaction that is kind of outside of their comfort zone drains that battery more. And so I think it's good to understand how people work and where they are in that level. And sometimes situations it's just going to drain them more, and sometimes it's going to build them up. So
I love that analogy. That is like paints such a good picture. And I'm definitely the latter for sure. But
yeah.
yeah, I like that a lot. It makes a ton of sense. Well, that being said, we got a little bit of a spicy topic in the sense that people tend to get a little bit riled up about it, but you need to be lifting weights over cardio. And so today I want to dive into why lifting weights needs to be your number one focus when it comes to fitness. And I'm going to say it plain and simple. If you're not lifting weights, you're missing out on one of the most powerful tools for transforming your body, your health, and your mindset. But I get it. Cardio often gets the attention when it comes to weight loss and getting in shape. I feel like that's usually what people tend to turn to first. But lifting weights is for everyone. I repeat, it's for everyone. And it's going to be far more effective for the vast majority of goals that people have. And when I say that, I mean like losing fat, building muscle, getting more confidence, all of these things can be achieved through weightlifting. And that's going to be the most efficient way to get that. So if you want to lose fat, lifting weight is going to help you build muscle, which helps make fat loss more sustainable, more effective. Or if you want to look more toned and defined, that just means you want muscle. Like you can't tone without having muscle. And so that's literally what creates that look that you're going for. Or if you just want more confidence, lifting weights transforms how you see yourself, how you show up in every area of your life. So it's not just about getting stronger, it's about building that foundation for fat loss, improved health, and a body that looks and feels incredible. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that cardio is bad. It has a place, and we'll definitely talk about that. But what I'm saying is, if you're only doing cardio, you're leaving a ton of results on the table. I think that lifting should be the top priority, again, for the majority of people, unless you have a very specific endurance goal or if you're training for some sort of race. But for most people we talk to, most people aiming to just get healthy and set themselves up for success long term, lifting weights is going to be the primary form of exercise, and cardio and other activities can then be supplemented as needed from there.
Yeah. So Mackenzie, share your experience. Tell me about, do you do a lot of cardio now, or have you ever done a lot of cardio, or how do you build that into your program?
Yeah, so when I first got started in the gym, I only did cardio. It was mostly because I had no clue what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to use any of the equipment or anything. And so I just got started in the gym, and through volleyball training, we did a lot of endurance stuff and just a lot of conditioning. So that was just what I was familiar with. So I got in and I would go in and just like run a bunch of miles on the treadmill. I'd go and do some stairs. I'd go on the stationary bike. I would just kind of bounce around, do a bunch of cardio, and then leave. That was probably, I forget how like the time frame, but that was a good few months of only going to the gym, only doing cardio. And then luckily one of the trainers, this was at LA Fitness at the time, like saw me and like offered me one of the free sessions. And so I was like, okay, like I'll try it out. And so he kind of showed me some of the exercises and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. So then that's what kind of sparked me to getting into more of the lifting and experimenting. I still had no clue what I was doing, like did things horribly wrong as we discussed, but that was kind of the spark and like, okay, like there's some value in this. And I was able to learn and grow from there.
Well, I was thinking, wanted to ask you about something. So I think the viewpoint's starting to change a little bit, but I still feel like if you ask most people and say, hey, if you're going to lose some weight, what do you need to do? I think the first step people do is, oh, I need to run more, or I need to hop on the treadmill, or I need to get on the elliptical more. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just because there's not a whole lot involved in it? Like, I mean, obviously you can just walk outside your house and start running, even though it's actually a very highly skilled thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people think, oh, I can just go out there and run, or it's just easy to hop on a treadmill or elliptical, or what do you think about that?
It's a very good question. I know I think about this too. I'm like, why is that always the first thing that people go to? I think I want to say at least the first thing that comes to mind for me is just like the marketing and how that's kind of always the thing that gets pushed on people. And I think also people get in this mentality of, which I'm sure we'll talk about more, is just like that punishment and trying to burn as much as possible. That's the mentality they have, and I think that cardio is going to be the best way to do that.
Yeah, and it has gotten way better. Now I'll walk into a gym and I see a lot of women lifting. They're doing free weights. They're lifting heavy weights, which is awesome. But I remember when I first started working out, it was almost divided. Like if you were a woman, most of the women were on the treadmills or ellipticals, and the men were working out with the free weights. And if you talk to a woman, especially like my clients that I had, one of the first things they would say is, I don't want to get too bulky. I don't want to get too big. And it was always a joke between myself and the other trainers and other guys I worked out with. I was like, man, if it's that easy to get bulky, I mean, all of us would just be jacked up. All the guys would walk into the gym and we'd all be huge and we'd be ripped up. And so I think it was always that impression that, hey, to lose weight, to get thinner and to get toned, as people would call it, you had to do a lot of cardio. And if you just want to get bigger, and stronger, then you went to the freeway side.
I honestly wish it was easy to get that big and bulky. Like that's the dream right there.
It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. So it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, people underestimate how hard it is to actually build muscle, actually put on size. Like it takes years and years of eating right, training right to get even somewhat like jacked and like that sort of sculpted physique. So it isn't just going to happen overnight. And that's why it's important to really prioritize the weight training and making sure that you are like putting in 100% effort and not just trying to like get toned or like you got to lift weights. Lifting weights equals building muscle. Period. End of story.
Yeah, and I think that's one reason why this episode is a good episode, a good topic to discuss it, because there's still people, and I feel so bad. You'll see someone that comes in the gym, and we've talked about consistency. There are a lot of people who just have a hard time getting to the gym. But there are some people that come into the gym and I see them every day at the same time, and they hop on their favorite elliptical or treadmill or stairmaster, and that's all they do for 20, 30 minutes. And they do that 5 or 6 days a week, and nothing's changed, and a lot of times I may not know what their goals are. Of course, if it's for endurance, that maybe that's a different story. But most people go in there, they're trying to lose weight, and so I think that's one reason why I think this topic is great to discuss.
Yeah, let's break this down because I think that's where a lot of people get confused. If you say that you want to lose weight, what you actually mean is you want to lose fat. The problem with that is if you lose weight without building or maintaining muscle, you're not going to look the way that you want underneath all of that. Because when you build muscle, you're not just losing fat, you're reshaping your body. And so, muscle, again, is what gives you that lean, muscular, athletic look that most people are after. But if you don't have that underneath, you're going to lose the weight, but you're just a smaller version of how you looked before almost.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people don't always associate building muscle with losing fat and burning more calories. And reality is building muscle really is the key to burning more calories and doing it sustainably and doing it the most effective and efficient way. Basically, the more muscle you build, the more it's going to burn, your body's going to burn calories without you doing things, right? So the faster your metabolism runs, which obviously makes losing fat easier. And like we said, sustainably, it helps it keep it off long term. So, we kind of talked about this in a couple of podcasts earlier, but muscle acts, I guess, more similarly to like a fat burning engine, right? So even when I'm sitting on the couch or hanging out or doing something not very active, I'm still burning calories, right? Because I have that muscle. So with more muscle, you don't have to necessarily rely on like extreme dieting or like endless hours of cardio to lose weight. So instead, your muscles actually help your metabolism build and build, and it gets higher and higher. So you're burning more calories all day, every day. So when you're trying to lose fat, having more muscle definitely makes that whole process easier. And what we all want is more sustainable, something we can keep doing forever. And you don't have to starve yourself. Actually, quite opposite. You have to build that muscle, or spend hours on a treadmill or elliptical or running to see results. So it's all about building muscle. That's going to work for you better long term.
Yeah, because with cardio can create a very slippery slope because you're going to have to do more and more cardio to achieve the same amount of calorie burn, the same results that you once did. And then even then, without the muscle mass, you're not going to, again, have the physique that you're aiming for underneath it all. But then there's that whole mindset again of going in with the intent to burn as much as possible or beat yourself into the ground to lose weight, which is one of very unhealthy, unsustainable mindset and approach to have because you're going in almost like hating yourself and just punishing yourself, which isn't sustainable in the long run. And we got to shift that intent from trying to burn calories to trying to build muscle and grow in order to automatically burn calories, like you said, because once you have more muscle mass, you're burning it automatically without having to do more and more cardio to burn that. And this is the foundation for long-term results. When you build that muscle, you're setting yourself up for a body that not only looks great, but performs great, whether that's in the gym, at work, or in everyday life. And I think one of the best things about lifting weights too is how efficient it is. If you're busy, like everyone that we talk to, like most of us are, weightlifting gives you the most bang for your buck. So you don't have to spend hours doing cardio in the gym to see results. We can just do like 2 to 3 sessions a week, or even just like 15, 20 minutes a few times a week. That's all it takes. But you can build muscle, burn fat, and improve your overall fitness with just that minimal time. And then, compare that to cardio, where you need to do significantly more to burn the same number of calories. And again, you have to do more and more over time because your body adapts very quickly to that. And overall, it's still not going to give you the same benefits as lifting does.
What you just said, I think, is super important for people to understand, is your body adapts to endurance activities, cardio, extremely quickly. And so, like you said, you have to do more and more and more. It's not just, hey, I can do an hour of cardio now and do that every day, and I'm going to be where I am. Your body's going to get super used to that, and all of a sudden you start plateauing or you start gaining weight again, and then you either start, people get frustrated and they quit, or they have to up that. Now they're doing an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever. So I think that's really important for people to understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think body adapts even more quickly to cardio. With weight training, obviously, we have progressive overload in place, so that way we can always see that continuous progress. without adding like a ton of time or extra energy or anything. But with cardio, like your body is an adaptation machine. So the more you do, it's gonna make that the new baseline, and it's just it continues to stack over time. So you obviously can't just be in the gym like all day doing cardio,
Right.
but that's eventually like over dramatic. But like that's kind of what it would end up to if you want to continue to burn at that same rate.
Yeah, and that people don't do that, so they end up getting to a point where they end up quitting, or they
Yeah.
just get really frustrated with it, or like I said, they go in there and they do the same thing every day, and just nothing really changes.
Yeah, and that's discouraging when you're putting in all this
Very.
work with seemingly nothing to show for it. Like showing up every day, you're putting in the hours, like you're working, but nothing's happening. And so that's very discouraging. And I understand why a lot of people want to quit after that. So it's also not just for fat loss. That's kind of the main topic. And I think a lot of people's goals. But I always say building muscle is one of the greatest insurance policies that you can do to set yourself up for success long term, and with your health, because the more muscle mass you have, the more benefits that you'll reap throughout your life. And so I figured we should touch on some of the other key benefits of lifting weights. One is improved mobility, functionality, and just longevity of movement. Having muscle mass helps you move better, move more efficiently, and through various ranges of motion. And I always like we always hear if you don't use it, you lose it, but it really is so accurate, especially with any type of movement pattern. Like if you don't walk for a little bit, you kind of lose the ability to walk, and you have to kind of relearn that. Especially if you've had to go through some sort of surgery or like have been bedridden for a while, like they'll know that. Or same with just basic squat patterns. Like if you don't squat ass to grass, you won't be able to like you be able to like get on off of the toilet. Like you need to be able to maintain these movement patterns, even just like the basic stuff like squat, like a deadlift, picking something off the ground. If you don't use it, then sometimes you'll go and like grab something, and that's when you like tick your back and everything starts falling apart. So having muscle mass is super important for that functionality, especially as you get older.
Yeah, and you just mentioned tweaking your back. Yeah, as you get older, and I've done that myself a few times. But injury prevention and pain reduction, is definitely a key benefit. So the stronger we are, if we're building and maintaining muscle, that's going to reduce joint pain, and more importantly, chronic pain. It's going to provide much better support to our skeletal system, improves our posture. A lot, especially nowadays with jobs, we have to sit on the computer or with our iPhones and all the technology we have. That's a really important benefit of that. Most pain, a lot of times, someone does something, they hurt something, they don't realize that it usually stems from weakness. And a lot of that is a lack of mobility or a lack of strength in that area. And really, the best way to cure that is to improve your function by full range of motion. I know it kind of sounds weird. I want to fix this. I need to improve my range of motion, but that definitely decreases that chance of pain down the road. And then stronger muscles just alleviate stress on joints and connective tissues in general, and decreases that wear and tear over time. As we get older, we want to take care of ourselves. So more muscle means greater overall strength, not just, if I'm lifting upper body, I'm still improving the strength of my lower body as well. It's going to translate better to balance, stability, which, again, as the older you get, a lot of times with the elderly in particular, they have those risks of falls or injuries, which lead to a lot of issues for them. So stronger muscles act as protective layers for those bones and joints. It kind of cushions them during impact or just strains that we might have every day.
Yeah, and kind of going back to the chronic pain too. Usually when people have some sort of pain, the first instinct is, oh, I just need to avoid it. I need to not use that.
Hmm.
I mean, and it obviously depends on the nature of the situation, but generally, if you're having some sort of pain, like you said, it stems from weakness. So avoiding it is just kind of putting off the issue, and it's just going to continue to compound. And so we need to actually address the root cause and build the strength around it. So that way we alleviate that pain once and for all, and you don't have to go through those cycles. And like you take a break and then you get back into it, the pain comes back, and it's just that endless vicious cycle.
Yes, for sure.
Another one is strength maintenance just throughout your later years of life, because your muscle mass naturally declines as you age. But through consistent weight training, this you can slow or even reverse this. And it doesn't take a lot to do that. Like you don't need to be in the gym 5, 7 days a week. Even just like we always say, like 2, 3 days a week, short workouts can maintain or potentially build muscle even into your later years. There's no limit on when you can build muscle, even if you're older. Like I have clients now that are in their 60s and are more muscle mass than ever, stronger than ever, hitting PRs and stuff. So there really is no age limit either.
Yeah, that's a great point. No age limit for sure. So the next one, improved metabolic health. So muscle tissue is metabolically active, meaning it's going to help regulate blood sugar and insulin levels. A good analogy that I've heard before is kind of think of muscles like a sponge. And so when you're taking in something that's going to release insulin into your body and cause those blood sugar spikes, the more muscle you have, the more it's going to absorb that and kind of balance those levels out, which reduces the risk of a lot of metabolic conditions like type 2 diabetes.
That's a big one. That's one that we have quite a few clients that have come to us getting those diagnoses. And first thing we do is like, all right, let's one work on the food, let's work on the training, and they end up reversing it and getting back to a healthy range. So a lot of it does come down to that muscle mass and that metabolic health. Next one, big one, is just a better quality of life. Who doesn't want that? Having
Yes.
more muscle means you can stay active, you can enjoy any sort of physical activities, maintain hobbies as you get older. This can literally be anything, but like hikes, I think about playing with kids, grandkids, going on trips, travel, being able to explore, go on adventures, or even just get back into sports. I talk to a lot of people who were once an athlete or just like playing even like pickleball or just other sports that they did growing up, and they want to get back into that, but pain limitations or extra weight has limited them. So this helps you live more a better quality of life by being able to do those things and just feel stronger, more capable, and less limited by any physical challenges, and ultimately helps you pour into everything else and live the fullest, longest, healthiest life possible.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than not being able to do something because you physically can't do it.
Hmm.
There's so many other limitations in the world that just because, for whatever reason you physically cannot do it. I mean, that's just really difficult.
Hmm. Yeah, we want to be able to have that power. So you can choose whether or not you do it or not, but you don't want to not be able to, especially if it's something that like you think about or something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. And the other one we're going to talk about is balancing hormones more effectively. You don't hear that as much, but basically, muscle supports youthful hormone levels. It influences levels of testosterone and cortisol, which are very important for overall health and vitality.
Yeah. And we're talking a lot about all the physical benefits, and there's a ton of that, but I also want to touch on the mental benefits too, because there's a lot of benefits in having that mental strength that comes from weight training. And I think there's something incredibly empowering about setting a goal, showing up, pushing yourself through a tough workout. And every time you do that, you're proving to yourself that you're stronger and more capable than you thought. I know for me and for so many others, this is one of the biggest reasons to lift weights. I think for me, I started in the gym because I wanted to look a certain way because I was insecure in how I looked. But the reason I stay in the gym is for the mental benefits 100%. I think it's the ultimate gateway into becoming a better version of yourself in literally every area of life. I was talking with a few people about this week, actually. One, I remember he wanted to be a better leader for his team and his business that he ran. And so he knew if he was setting the standard, if he was working on himself, not only would his team respect him more, but they would be able to follow suit and have more trust in him as the leader. I was talking to another girl who is actually a mindset coach, and how she felt like because she wasn't following through like on her health and with the promises that she made to herself, like she didn't like she wanted to pause her coaching other clients just because like she wanted to embody that and like set the example for them. And so, same with even like with people who have kids and a family, they want to set that example for their family, for their kids, and lead by example. I think it makes a big difference because how you do this one thing in particular with training carries over into, again, every single other area of your life. You become more confident, disciplined, and consistent in those areas too. I know for me, that was truly what opened the door for everything else. Once I shifted to weight training, from doing all the cardio, I immediately noticed how it impacted my depression and anxiety. I got addicted to that happy feeling it gave me, and then soon after, the confidence that it gave me. So, not only in how I looked, but more so how I felt. Like I felt strong, capable. I was also training my mind and the way that I viewed the world and myself, because I started as a way to punish myself. Like I said, I started because I wanted to look a different way. and I wasn't happy with where I was at, but then it shifted into wanting to be that best version of myself and getting addicted to that process and that growth. And once I got better in the gym, I shifted to diet, and then I shifted to other self-improvement tools. I dove into that deep inner work, and it opened the doors to literally everything good in my life now and where I am today, including relationships, business, everything in between.
Yeah, and I want to make sure too, and you've said this, but I want to say it again. We're not saying cardio is bad or bad for you or you shouldn't do it. I
Mhm.
mean, cardio is great for, for heart, for overall health. It's great for, I mean, obviously, if you're training for something specifically, if you're wanting to go on long runs, there's a lot of other things you might train for, then you need that cardio, and cardio is great. And there are some people who absolutely love it. If someone came to me, a client came to me and said, "Hey, I still want to do a lot of cardio because I love swimming or I love running," then I would definitely not say stop doing it. It's just we're just going to have to shift goals and shift expectations based on what your priorities are. So there are a lot of benefits to running. And I know some people out there are like, "Oh, I love it. I'll always do it forever, and it's worked well for me," and that's great. So we're not saying it's not good for you. We're just really want to tout the benefits of lifting weights, especially if you're considering starting to work out because you want to lose weight. You definitely need to start with lifting weights.
100%. Yeah. Glad you clarified that. Cardio is great. It's a great tool. Just saying, we want to prioritize lifting and make sure that that is a regular part of your routine, assuming that you have these general health, weight loss, muscle building goals.
Right. So what about yourself? Do you do a lot of cardio in your program now?
Now, I truthfully, since that moment where I got started with the trainer and started getting into lifting, I never really did focused cardio after that. Until recently with volleyball, I would kind of consider that cardio. That's basically the only form of cardio that I do now, aside from walking. I get lots of steps and all that. But it was very humbling at first. I will be honest. The first time playing doubles, granted, this was peak midday, peak Florida summer. So there was that added aspect. But I was fighting for my life. Like I had no endurance because I never trained specific cardio aside from hiking and walks. So it was very humbling and very eye-opening to get my ass kicked by a bunch of old men playing volleyball. But the funny thing is, like I said, our body adapts very quickly to cardio. And so this was just a prime example of that because in probably just a couple sessions of playing doubles, now I don't even notice it. Like I could go hours and hours without feeling like tired or fatigued or anything because my body has adapted so quick to that. So I don't even know if I should consider it cardio now because it isn't super taxing, but I'm sure I'm still getting some of those benefits by playing.
Well, that's a good example too why cardio might be a good thing, why someone might want to improve their cardio
Mm-hmm.
if they have something specific like that that they're working towards.
Mm-hmm. Do you do any cardio in your training right now?
So it's funny. I don't know what it is about me, but people I think assume that I'm like a big runner,
Oh, really?
which is like the opposite. I do not like running at all. I think when I was younger, I played some sports. Whether it was through college or after college, I did all kinds of intramural things, football, flag football, basketball, softball, all that kind of stuff. I think I just naturally had those activities, and that was kind of like my cardio. As I got older and kind of stopped playing those things, there was a phase where I started running a lot, and I think that was more for just to kind of find out, like, if I could improve my endurance and if I could improve my mile time. I was never great at miles, so I had like a goal and try to get like under a certain time, and I did that, and that was kind of fun for a little while. But now, and it's funny. As an immature trainer, when I was younger, if I asked, if you do any cardio, and they said walking, I was like, oh, walking, that's nothing, and what's the benefit to that? But now, I mean, I'm a completely opposite mindset of that. I think walking is the best form of movement. And so that's something I try to do, especially walking my dogs, or I'm just trying to get my steps in. But and I love walking. My favorite is to walk after a meal. I feel better doing it, and I know the benefits of digestion improvement and blood sugar control, and then just being out, whether I'm walking with my dogs or walking with my family, or there's just so many benefits to it. And then, like you said earlier about being out there in nature. It's kind of like just you just keep piling on all the benefits of walking outdoors. So that's what I always recommend to my clients, unless they just love. I've had clients that have certain activities they absolutely love, and I would never want to take that away from them. But I always start off with walking and say, hey, why don't we work on walking and practice walking with friends, with family, and specifically after meals is just a fantastic time to do that.
Yeah, walking is seriously the best. Very low barrier to entry too. It's kind of hard to mess it up. And like you said, there's so many benefits to it. How many steps a day are you typically averaging? Do you track that at all?
I do, and I'm constantly disappointing myself. There's that number of 10,000 out there, right? And we've all heard the reasoning behind that, and that it's not really it's not a magic number. It's just kind of just a number that's out there. A lot of people try to reach, and I have a difficult time reaching that. And even though I feel like I'm walking a lot and I'm moving around a lot, so it just kind of shows like how hard it is to get to 10,000. But I'm typically around like 8 or 9,000 steps on a normal day.
Not bad. Yeah. I'm kind of in a competition with myself every day to see how many steps I can get. I'm addicted to that. I definitely went through a phase, especially when I moved here when I was just kind of getting settled in. I didn't like the areas I was in either. It was hard for me to get in all my steps, and I was averaging probably like way lower than that. But now that I'm like in a good flow and in a good place too, yeah, I'm just addicted. And so my baseline's been 12K, like at a minimum, and then I'll try to, get as much as possible. And I'm sure I do a lot with volleyball. I don't track it because I don't have a watch or anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's so many benefits. And that's usually what we give clients. Like I'd say weight training and walking. That's always a good starting point if you're looking to get started and staying active. Like those are the two main things that you can hit on, and it'll take you, 99% of the way there.
Yeah, and you're talking about that step number. It doesn't really matter where you're at right now. So if you're, 2,000 steps daily, if that's where you're at, hey, make a goal for 3,000. And when you work that, and if you hit that consistently, then go for 4,000. You gotta meet yourself where you're at and improve from there. And if you get to 3,000, even though your neighbor might be doing 8,000, who cares? That's a 1,000 step improvement every day. So that's a big win.
Yeah, always be competing with yourself, not what other people are doing and not what people say you should be doing. Meet yourself where you're at and build on it from there.
Right.
So I want to get back to some of the mental benefits though of lifting because I think that's so important and so underrated and not a lot of people talk about that. I think one is overcoming limiting beliefs and kind of building that self-confidence because every time you push through a tough lift, you prove to yourself that you're stronger, more capable than you thought. It also forces you to confront those mental barriers. I always say the biggest thing holding you back is your mind. And oftentimes when you're lifting, you're like, oh, there's no way I can lift that much or get that many reps. And then you're in it. And if you push yourself through it and you realize, oh, I can actually break that barrier, it kind of opens a whole new door of what else can be possible. And then in building the confidence too, you're seeing that tangible progress, lifting heavier or hitting new PRs as far as like weights or reps. It again proves that you're capable of that. And the confidence spills over into everything. Like we said, careers, relationships, personal life.
Yeah, it also builds resilience, right? So weightlifting, it teaches discipline, consistency, perseverance. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing, even if you love it. Like we love going to the gym every day, but there's still so many barriers, so many just factors in life, things that can easily distract us or block us from living a healthy lifestyle. So to stick to a routine, to make time for workouts and make that on a consistent basis, even on days when you might not feel it. I mean, that takes a lot. It really helps you build that discipline. It helps you to build self-control, and that's in all aspects of life. It helps you to stay focused on goals, whether that's goals, in the gym, but we're talking about also helps you to learn that ability to stay focused on goals at work or in relationships. Teaches you that results come from that consistency. Right? There's that old saying, you go to the gym day one, wake up the next day and nothing changes. And you day two, same thing. I mean, it takes a while before you start noticing the results. But if you stick with it and you have that consistency, then results start to show up. And that's really with, a lot of things in life. Most people who are very well off financially, they didn't wake up with a bank account that was very exciting to look at. Certainly, I don't want to say that, but it builds up over time, and they have to consistently put in that work to build that. So It helps us to work hard for things and not look for those quick fixes or those shortcuts. And the progress just doesn't happen overnight. So you learn to embrace failure as well. There's a lot of times where, it can be anything from trying a new exercise that you're just not good at, and having to learn that skill. And, we have to learn to use that failure as feedback and grow from those moments. So you're going to face setbacks in the gym. You're going to face setbacks in life. And weightlifting has definitely helped us to push past those plateaus, both in the gym and life, and just keep working towards those goals.
Yeah, I think all the best results or all the success in like fitness or finances, like you said, comes from delaying that gratification and being willing to put in the work, put in the reps day after day, and not expect an immediate return, but knowing that it's stacking up and that it is going to pay off over time. I always think about this concept that I heard from Ed Milet about the invisible progress is you're putting in the work every day and it feels like nothing is happening and you aren't seeing progress, but all those 1%, all those reps that you're doing is stacking up behind the scenes. You just don't see it yet until it gets so overwhelming to that point where all the results start to fall into place and you really see that massive growth. And I always remind myself of that when I'm in seasons where even in business where like I'm putting in all this work, but I feel like things aren't growing the way they want or things aren't working out the way they want. Like I'm trusting that what I'm doing is stacking up over time and that progress is going to come.
Yeah.
I think another one is just the active setting and achieving goals. I don't think people do enough of that. Lifting is a constant cycle of goal setting and achievement. We always say with clients, like, there's always another level. And I think they don't realize that until they get into it too. Like, there's one thing, and then, all right, what's the next goal? And then you achieve that and the next one. And then within that, there's also all these like mini goals in between. So, again, it's just reinforcing the idea that you're capable of doing hard things and can continue to set and achieve those goals again and again.
Yeah, and it also helps increase focus and productivity. I talked about that discipline. The discipline that you develop through consistent training carries over into work and to all the other responsibilities we have in life. Weightlifting requires, like you said, you have to set goals. You have to have a plan for it. You have to execute that plan, and that translates directly into better organization and effectiveness and efficiency at work. And that mental clarity that comes from exercise sharpens our focus, like we said, helps us to prioritize tasks and take those challenges that we have in life, because we're always going to face challenges, and be able to take them head on. I think that just kind of goes back to that confidence thing too, right? We have more confidence in our ability to be able to take on these challenges. And when you feel strong and capable, you're going to take on these leadership roles. You're going to take on these roles, these things that are more challenging in life, and make better decisions.
Improved energy levels is another big one. I always say action creates energy, especially when it comes to lifting. I think a lot of people hit that midday wall or just feel so tired, irritated all day, every day. And so, not only does diet play a role in that, but really the exercise and the energy that comes from lifting weights and building up your metabolism and circulation and all those things that come from lifting.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I stress to my clients is that when they're done with that workout, like my goal is that they feel better. They have more energy, that they feel like there was a time when I first started training, I just wanted to wear that client out and like push them, to the limits, and where they're sore and like, oh, everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm really sore. It was a great workout. But in reality, you just basically overtrained a little bit. You
Oh,
push
yeah.
yourself too hard. And so that's my goal, is for someone, when they're done with that workout, they feel better about their day. They have more energy. Even when like I'm not feeling good physically, like maybe I have a cold or something like that, like I definitely go to the gym, and I definitely make sure that I do that workout. It may not be the best workout I've ever had or anything like that, but I always feel better afterwards. So I think sometimes people get in that mindset. They're like, I'm not feeling that good today. I've had a rough day, whatever it may be. And they're like, I think I'm going to skip the gym. And man, if we had a different mindset, because I have this rough day, I'm going to go to the gym because I know I'm going to feel better afterwards. I think it just makes a world of difference.
So good. Yeah, I think people usually say, "Oh, I don't have energy, so I'm not going to go to the gym." But in reality, you need to go to the gym so that way you get more energy.
Yes. All right. And talking about days that might be kind of difficult, we all have our stressors, especially now we're in the middle of the holidays. So there's probably a little bit more stress that we probably add to our own lives. But weightlifting just helps regulate stress hormones. Like we talked about earlier, like cortisol releases endorphins. It helps you to feel calmer, helps you to feel kind of like more in control of your day and what's going on. Helps you become more patient, which I think is super important, especially when you have difficult situations. Kind of like what I talked in the other podcast about being more still. If I didn't lift weights, like I don't know where I would be on that spectrum. But it helps you to become more calm and relaxed and patient in dealing with situations on your own, as well as dealing with situations at work or at home or other relationships. And you're able just to approach all the challenges of life, all the stresses in life with a much more positive, optimistic mindset, which of course benefits you and benefits everyone around you as well.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that clients are most surprised by, and probably one of the earliest wins that they start to see that's very like big is the stress. Not only is their stress baseline just much lower, but things don't affect them like they normally do. So bigger stressors just don't hit as hard and they're able to kind of brush it off and have more of that calmness and stillness. And again, like the stress baseline is so much lower. So they're just functioning at a much higher level because not everything is this big deal and their stress hormones aren't through the roof and it's affecting their sleep and everything else. So that's something that is very underrated is reduce stress and how that shows up in your day-to-day life and how you perform at work and how you show up with your family and everything.
Yeah, and we talked about how fat loss or muscle gain takes so long. You have to be patient with that. A lot of the big wins that our clients have, you can't necessarily see from the outside, and that's one of those things. They're able to handle stress better. They feel more calm. They have more energy throughout. And so they may not be, reaching that fat loss goal yet or the muscle gain goal yet, but they're feeling better about themselves just in general.
For sure.
And then kind of touched on this, but just being more present in life, being more present and engaged in relationships. When you feel strong, a lot of times it equates to feeling more confident, you're more energized. You're just naturally going to show up better for those around you. And lifting weights, we talked about that improves your mood, which if it improves your mood, it usually reduces that irritability because you're handling things better. You're more present for your children. You're more present for your coworkers. You're more present for your spouse or other partners or friends, family members. And the self-respect and just the discipline that you get through training often leads to better communication and just deeper connections with others. So setting those positive examples for those around you, I think is just a huge win.
Yeah, it helps you become a better leader I would say you become a better friend, you become a better spouse, a better parent, a better leader at work, whether that's in a company or leading a team or a business on your own. You just become a better person overall, and that translates over into just better problem solving skills in certain roles or just better control over your life and helps you lead with more confidence and authenticity.
100% for sure. Okay, so what else? Oh, how about becoming just the best version of yourself? So lifting weights definitely supports that growth mindset, which I think is so important for a quality for someone to have. If you're just constantly striving to be better, both physically and mentally, then you're going to become a better version of yourself. So each workout, we like to look at it, it's like an investment in yourself. And we've said this, I say this to my clients, the best investment you can possibly make is in taking care of yourself. And that's going to just improve your ability to be more present, to be more intentional, to be more impactful in everything you do. And so, lifting is just something you have to do, right? It's just one of those things, when you're talking to somebody, first saying, hey, do you lift? Because I want to make sure, you're on the right track in life.
Yeah, it's not just about the physical benefits. Like we said, it helps like if you have a weight loss goal, lifting weights is the best bet. And also if you just want to become a better person, if you want more of that confidence, if you want more of that stress management, that resilience, the mental benefits as well. So it really hits on all the major pieces.
Yes.
So that being said, just want to touch on a few practical tips that we can do to get started into weightlifting if that's something that you're new to or just not sure how to approach that. So I say one is focusing on some of the main compound movements. That's things like squats, deadlifts, your presses, just for more efficiency and to get more bang for your buck for the movements that you're doing and to also save on time. Always focus on form over the weight that you're using. I don't care how much weight you're doing. If you cannot control it, if you can't go through full range of motion, you need to make sure that form is on point. That matters more than anything else and matters more than fueling your ego with lifting a certain weight or hitting a certain PR.
Agreed.
And you can start again with 2, 3 days a week, especially if you haven't lifted before or getting back into your routine. Start small, 2, 3 days a week, or even smaller, shorter sessions more frequently is totally fine. But you want to progressively increase the intensity and consistency over time. And then, kind of like we were saying, combine the lifting with some sort of light activity like walking to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and again, we're not saying cardio is bad. It definitely has its place in the world, and especially if there's a certain form of cardio that you just absolutely love. We don't ever want to take that away from you. Or if the goals that you have require building up that endurance, then cardio definitely has its place. But in general, weightlifting needs to be that top priority in your routine. That needs to be the first thing you start in your program. Make it first, focus on make it first, make it the foundation. I think that's a good way to put it. Make it the foundation of your training. Then as that becomes a consistent thing, then we can start supplementing with specific focused cardio. Or even like we talked about, working on daily step goals, getting in more walks throughout the day, especially after meals, and making that consistent baseline activity. And then this approach just is going to ensure that you enjoy the benefits of cardio if you do like to do it, but also prioritizing the long-term advantages of weightlifting.
Yeah. So, bottom line, lifting weights is the foundation for fat loss, strength, confidence, and just long term health. And it's something that anyone can start no matter where you're at in your journey. If you're serious about transforming your body and your life, it's time to make lifting the priority. And don't worry if you're just starting, focus on the basics, take it slow, work on some of those foundational things that we just talked about, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish just by starting off with that. And I also built out a full guide on this exactly how to get into the gym, how to approach it properly to get the maximum results out of it, plus a full 12-week program for gym and home version. So I'll drop that link in the description if you want to download it for free. And then you can also connect with us on socials, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. And yeah, get in the gym. We'll see you guys next week.